Okay, in this video tutorial, I'm going to install Windows 7 to a virtual machine. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to open up Oracle via Virtualbox. I have a shortcut on my desktop, but you guys might have to go down to the Start menu, All Programs, and I think that it's going to be somewhere in the CTE software. Okay, so now that I have Oracle VM Virtualbox open right here, I'm going to hit New, and I'm going to type in Windows 7. Make sure that the type says Microsoft Windows and the version is Windows 7 32-bit. Then I'm going to hit Next. We're going to give this 2048 2048 amount of memory, so 2048 has to be exactly that. Hit Next. Create a virtual hard disk now. Hit Create. Hit Next. Dynamically allocated. Hit Next. Windows 7, that's perfect. And hit Create. Okay, now that I've done that, I double click on this Windows 7. And it's going to ask me to find a ISO file. An ISO file is like a virtual CD or a virtual DVD. And I have those saved on the share drive. So I click on this little folder with the caret next to it. And I go to Computer. And I browse to the share drive, Shared S. Then I go to Main West. Then I go to Students. Then I go to AAT. Then in here I find Cybersecurity, which is right there, Cybersecurity. And now I'm going to find Windows 7 SB1 32-bit. Click Open and hit Start. Now right up here it says you have the auto keyboard thing turned on. We want to click on this little message with the line through it so that never shows again. Alright, so so we got Windows 7 loading. So while this is loading, let me talk to you a little bit about a virtual machine. So a virtual machine is basically a computer within a computer. So within this, we have dedicated memory, a dedicated hard drive. We're installing an operating system right now. So this will function the same way that your host machine or your actual computer runs. So this is a virtual machine right here. The actual physical computer that your computer is running is called the host machine. So the reason that we want to use virtual machines in this class, there's a couple reasons. Number one, we're going to want to try to alter the machines in a couple of different ways. Talk about this in a second. We're going to click on that little message with the line through it. I'm going to hit Next right here, and then I'm going to hit Install Now. So anyway, we're going to want to alter these machines significantly, so you're going to have administrative rights. So in order to give you administrative rights, we can't give you administrative rights to the host machine, but we can give you administrative rights to a virtual machine. You hit I accept the license, and hit Next. Then we're going to hit Custom. You're going to hit Next. And now it's copying. Okay, so you're going to need administrative rights. Number two, we're going to have you're going to need access to multiple computers at the same time because we're going to be running Kali Linux and trying to attack a server and all different things. So in order to give you access to multiple computers, you're going to have multiple machines running on your one computer, and that's why we're using virtual machines. And finally, with virtual machines, this will allow us to, let's say we break one of our machines, we have these things called snapshots, which I'll talk about in a minute, and you're able to revert back to a snapshot. So you break your computer, well, we can revert back in time to a time when your computer was not broken. So that'll be extremely handy in this class. Okay, so while this is installing right now, I'm going to go ahead and pause my video. And as soon as I have to click something, I'll resume it, but there's no sense in you just watching this count up right there. Okay, so during the installation process, you may notice that your virtual machine has to restart a few times. At this screen, press any key to boot from a CD. You need to make sure that you're not touching your keyboard. If you are surfing the internet or doing something else and you are typing something and you type a key while that screen is on, it's going to mess up your installation and you're going to have to like restart it. So it's important that when your Windows 7 virtual machine restarts while it's installing, that you are not touching your keyboard. If you do touch your keyboard, unfortunately, it will mess everything up. Again, my computer just had to restart a second time. It's really important when your computer restarts, you don't touch the keyboard. So it should have to restart 2 times during the installation process. During that time, you don't have to do anything. Now my computer is booting up after its second restart, and it says starting Windows, which is excellent. Even though at this point we've basically installed Windows successfully, I still want to walk through how to create a snapshot, because the first thing that you should do after you've successfully installed Windows is create a snapshot. So as soon as this boots up for the first time, we're going to shut it down, we'll create a snapshot, and then I'll show you how to restore a snapshot. So I'm going to go ahead and create a username. So I'll create G. Reichelt. I'm not going to type in any password. I'm going to uncheck this automatically activate, and I'm just going to hit skip. And then in terms of updates, I'm going to hit ask me later. This is Central Time, so we want to make sure that our time is correct. Look down there, it is. Hit next. This is we can check home network, it doesn't really matter for this one. Okay, and now our Windows 7 PC is booting in for the first time. You'll notice because we didn't enter a product key, it's automatically going to be Windows 7 Ultimate. We'll have access to this Windows 7 machine for about 180 days, and then we're going to have to reinstall. Okay, so our Windows 7 machine has booted up, which is excellent. Now that that has happened, we're going to need to install guest editions. So go to Devices, Insert Guest Editions CD. Give this a second. I might have to go to Computer, and then there's that Guest Edition CD that's in there. So I'll double click on this, and then this is VBox Windows Guest Editions x86. So I'll double click on that. I'm going to hit yes. I'm going to click next. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to hit install. And check this always install, and then hit install. Okay, so while this is installing, let me just tell you quickly, guest editions will speed up our machine. It will allow different access into the machines. There's a lot of reasons we're going to want to use guest editions, and in the future. Check the I want to manually reboot later. Actually, we'll just reboot now. Hit finish, and our Windows 7 machine is going to go ahead and reboot. Once it's rebooted, we're then going to create a snapshot, and I'll show you how the snapshots work, and that is it. So our Windows 7 machine is booting up now. In order to, I always like to shut down the machine before I take a snapshot. So I'm going to wait for this thing to boot up, then I'm going to click Start, Shut Down. We're going to shut down our virtual machine. Now that it's shut down, I'm going to come back over here. I have Windows 7 right there. I'm going to click on Machine Tools, and I'm going to click on Snapshots, and then we're going to go ahead and, okay, sorry about that. So we're going to click on Take, and we're going to call this right after install, and then I'm going to click OK, and then now we have this snapshot. That's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to double click on let me show you what this snapshot will do. So let's say we have our Windows 7 machine and we mess it up somehow. If we can now go back to that restart point, and it will undo everything that we've done. So I'll just kind of show you how this works right now. So we got this booting up, starting Windows 7. Please wait. Welcome. All right. So I have this machine. So let's go ahead and like create a new document saying this is a change. So for cybersecurity, this could be maybe a virus that we've installed or whatever, and we've run it. Now our Windows 7 machine is totally messed up. So let's say, oh no, my machine is totally messed up. How do I restore back to a point? Well, here's how to do it. We can click on this X right there, and then what we can do is I'm just going to go ahead and click the power off, and then I can click on this restore current snapshot right after install. So then I click that and I click OK. What's going to happen to this Windows 7 machine is it's going to revert back to the moment that I took the snapshot. So now when I boot back into Windows 7, that document that I just created that said whatever I wrote on that text, I don't even remember. That document that I just created will be deleted. So we're just going to load this up. And as this loads up, you'll see the document that I previously created will have been deleted, and that's exactly what we want. So if that document was like a virus, now that virus would have been removed. Do not, in the future, click on this X and hit the power off. Always shut down your virtual machines normally, like go to the start menu and hit shutdown. If you just power off the machine, that's the same as like ripping out the power cable. In terms of restoring a snapshot, that's okay, but on a daily use, you don't want to do that, otherwise you can damage the virtual machine, and then you might have to reinstall at some point. Okay, let me know if you have any questions about this process.